I'd like to call to order the meeting of Monday, October the 27th. If the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the regular meeting of October 13th and the special meeting of October the 20th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Is there any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We have a couple of presentations. If the clerk would please read the first one.
Number one is Douglas Dolph, Executive Director of the United Way, will discuss their fundraising drive.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and City Manager. Thank you for allowing me to come today and talk to you a little bit about the United Way campaign. Before I make any comments right now, I've got a short video I'd like to show. It's about 6 minutes, then I'll have a few comments afterwards.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mark Freese from UPS, and this year I am serving as the United Way of St. Clair County Campaign Chair. UPS is a proud supporter of United Way in communities across the country. In the next few minutes, I would like to show you how Neighbors Helping Neighbors through United Way makes a difference in St. Clair County. Here at Port Huron Hospital, we see an example of how the United Way has partnered with the St. Clair County Regional Educational Service Agency to provide all children in St. Clair County from newborns to age 5 with a book every month through the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program. Every parent of a newborn is provided the necessary information to register their child for the program to prepare them for school at age 5. Our next stop is SONS, which is Save Our Neighborhoods and Streets. This organization works with local youth ages 5 through 21 to positively influence their lives through programs and activities that focus on educational attainment and life skill development. Let's listen to the kids.
Why are you going to college?
To get more knowledge.
Bachelor's, master's,
Doctor's degree.
The higher you go, the more you see.
If it were not for SONS program and United Way, I wouldn't be going to college. I was accepted to Spring Arbor University with a scholarship. Thank you, United Way.
Another organization addressing youth issues is the Harbor, where they provide emergency shelter, counseling, and support services to runaway and homeless youth up to age 17. Here, the counselors work with the kids to provide educational support and other services that ensure they stay at their grade level during these difficult times of their lives. Here's an example of an important new program United Way is funding this year, Birthday in a Bag. In conjunction with the Department of Human Services, United Way is ensuring birthday celebrations for foster children. Imagine growing up without ever having a birthday party. Many foster children do.
Thank you, United Way, for providing 300 foster children the materials needed for a birthday party, cake, and presents.
Back at the United Way, people come in every day for medical equipment. United Way's Medical Loan Closet is an equipment resource that operates similar to a library. Residents donate equipment such as wheelchairs, walkers, canes, and crutches, making them available so other residents in need can check them out. Wow, what a recycling project. As we look around our community, we see many accessibility ramps. United Way leads a collaboration with the Stebbins Family Fund, Community Enterprises of St. Clair County, the ARC of St. Clair County, and the Department of Human Services in providing these ramps to low-income residents. At Community Enterprises, a crew of developmentally disabled individuals is supervised by a licensed builder to build the ramps for the physically disabled. Sections of the ramp are built in advance and then moved to the site for installation. At the site, the crew then finishes the ramp installation per local building codes. Isn't this a great program, providing jobs and accessibility for the disabled?
When my husband was diagnosed with cancer, we turned to Visiting Nurses Association and Blue Water Hospice for in-home care services and later for hospice needs. United Way helped provide these very necessary services for our family, and we cannot thank you enough. Thank you, United Way.
So how does all this work? During the campaign, United Way staff and volunteers meet with businesses throughout the county to provide information about the programs and services and ask employees for their support. Due to the generosity of local businesses and their employees, United Way is able to provide funding for over 40 programs and services throughout the county, like the ones you've just seen. When the annual United Way campaign is complete, then the Citizens Review Committee goes into action. They review the various program proposals submitted by organizations to address the needs of the community. It is important to know United Way doesn't fund agencies but funds programs and services that organizations deliver. After many hours of investigation and review, the committee makes the final funding recommendations to the board of directors, who in turn review the recommendations and approve the final funding. As you have seen, there are many ways the United Way supports the community. From newborns receiving their first book, to seniors needing care at home, to providing birthdays in a bag for foster children, to helping the developmentally disabled build ramps for the physically disabled, the United Way is there. A community is all about neighbors helping neighbors, and United Way gives us all the opportunity to improve our neighbors' lives. Please join me in giving. And thank you for your support.
Thank you. It's rolling right now. Those are all the programs and the services that were provided last year. As I mentioned in the video, over 40 services are provided in St. Clair County. When you give to the United Way of St. Clair County, all your funds are staying right here in St. Clair County for residents of St. Clair County. I also would like to thank the council for your past support and hope that you will continue to support the United Way this year. The needs are still there, and we can still use your support. The brochure that you may have yet or will be getting at some point in time has a list of all the agencies associated with the United Way this past year and the phone numbers. If you know a neighbor, a friend, a relative, or somebody in St. Clair County that needs these services, those would be the numbers to have them call. If you don't see it here, they can call the United Way direct. We have many collaborations with state, federal, and other nonprofits throughout the county. We'll be able to hook them up with the appropriate services that they might need. One thing I want to share with you from last year, just to give you an idea of some of the things we do beyond the video. Everybody knows how cold it was last year. There's a lot of money out there available for people for utilities. The problem is, state and federal monies and so forth, they're capped. You can only tap in to so many dollars in a period of time. Some people were tapped out. One lady in particular had 2 kids, working 2 jobs, had run and hit the end. She couldn't get any more money from any other agency. The United Way was there that day, filled her tank for $1,200, and it was 6 below that night. So we can't do these types of things for your neighbors and friends without support. So please consider the United Way this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The clerk would please read the next presentation.
James Freed, City Manager, will give a presentation on the utility enterprise funds.
I believe we all need to mute our mics because he's got a lapel mic on it.
Yeah,
It will
appreciate
give
that.
feedback.
I felt it was important. We've had numerous work sessions, and we've presented a lot of information, and I felt it was important that we present that information at a full council meeting, so not only does the council have a chance to review the information once more, but so does our audience here and our audience at home watching. So I felt it was important to go through some of the highlights of the challenges we face. All set? First and foremost, we're here to talk about the structural deficits within the utility funds, specifically water and wastewater. As you can see here, this is the water fund. Currently this year we have about a $1.1 million structural deficit. But if you look back all the way to 2009, we've run almost $1 million deficits just about every year. In the wastewater fund this year, we have a $3.8 million deficit. And again, between $2.2 and $5.7 million deficit annually since even before 2009. Cumulatively, this year we are facing a $4.9 million deficit. And if you look back all the way to 2009 and before, we are averaging between 6.6 million, 5.9 million, 2.4 million, 3.9 million deficits, staggering deficits. To give you a point of reference, here is our projected deficit going forward in comparison to our current general fund operating expenses, the police department, the fire department, parks and recreations, and so on. For those who say that we should cut our way out of this, the differential between your deficits and what you would need to cut would be staggering. We would greatly reduce public safety, eliminate 24/7 police coverage and fire protection. And then you can cut for 1 year, but the next year you still have another deficit. We've had a golden goose, the land purchase fund. The land purchase fund has been the main source of our subsidies. The mayor and council, not just the mayor and council sitting here, but previous mayors and councils went to great lengths to avoid rate increases during a time of severe recession. And so we rated the land purchase fund and even the general fund. But our projections is that golden goose is running out of money. So we will continue with deficits, and our ability to subsidize is quickly running out. This is just where the land purchase gets its money from. We do intergovernmental loans, various TIFs borrow money to do projects and they pay them back. And that's where this gets its revenue from. Now these revenues are subject to the market, so if property values decline or the recession happens again, these numbers will fluctuate as well. But these are the best projections we have on the revenue. But as you show, the revenue for the land purchase fund is not keeping pace with the level of subsidies. Something will need to change. Long-term debt. Annually, we have between $11 and $12 million debt service for the sewer separation project. Currently, we have about $107 million of outstanding debt towards that project. Annually, that works out to be about $7.7 million in principal, $3.4 million in interest. Now, this does not include the $2.5 million for sewer and $2.3 million of water, additional borrowings approved for Nerd Street. Now, this is the CSO debt structure. I got something clicking here. Our debt structure, the candy cane here, is where we are currently at. And the idea is that the land purchase subsidies would provide a bridge until 2022. If I click this off, would that help? All right, I'm going to the podium. If you look here at the idea was that the land purchase fund, we would subsidize it until about 2022 when the natural reduction of debt took place to the tune of about 1.3 million, 1.1 million, and so on. It's kind of like a snake swallowing an egg. You can actually see the debt service passing through the system. Unfortunately, the land purchase fund will not hold out long enough to provide a necessary bridge to that natural debt reduction. In addition to the CSO project, there's also about $27.5 million of capital needs that need to be worked on our system. We have parts of our system that are more than 50 years old. Annually, that's about $1.3 million we need to operate capital on an annual basis. It's like driving a car. When you drive a car, you have to change the oil and you have to change the tires. It's just like maintaining a multi-million-dollar wastewater plant and water plant. When we're done with the CSO work, a lot of our capital needs that were within the CSO project will come out of that. And so we'll need about $3 million a year to keep up and maintain the system we've got. Not to expand it, but just to maintain the system we got. In the capital improvement plan, we have about additional $7.7 million of needs at the wastewater plant and sanitary pump stations throughout the city. In addition to that, we have about $2.3 million of needs at the water filtration plant and the water storage facilities. Our water tanks, our pumps, our filtration systems, they're going to need some maintenance. The general fund has done its part since about 1998. We have transferred more than $15.4 million of general fund dollars. And these are the extraordinary measures the council went to alleviate rate increases during a recession. These are dollars that could have been invested in infrastructure, cops, public safety, utilities, streets. These are unrestricted general fund dollars that were used to subsidize the water and sewer fund. In addition to the $15.4 million since 1998, since 2002, the land purchase fund has subsidized to the tune of about $29 million. About $5 or $6 million of that coming from the sale of Grand Towers, our senior housing complex that we privatized. Total subsidies, it's to the tune of about $45 million. That is extraordinary measures taking place over the course of the last decade to avoid rate increases. But this money is running out. What steps have we already taken? The council has invested money very wisely and made cost-saving measures to also alleviate rate increases. In addition to the $45 million that's been transferred from both funds, we also have received grants. We received a grant in 2008 to pay for the funding, the reconstruction of the 7th Street Bridge. That allowed funds in the street funds to be loosened up to help subsidize as well, to the tune of about $5.6 million from 08 to 13. In addition to that, we use TIFA tax increment districts to the tune of about $9.8 million in various grants from stimulus money, CBG dollars, EPA grants, about $31.1 million of grant funding. That represents about 17.7% of the entire CSO project was done through grant funding. So those are those who say, well, we should seek grant funding. We have. We've also reduced our workforce by 30%, as 21 full-time workers are no longer employed in our wastewater facilities. So we have 21 less people to fix water mains, maintain the system, about $1.8 million in savings a year. That means the employees we have left are working harder for the same amount of money. And with the changes we made in healthcare and pension cost, they've actually taken a pay cut. We've also invested in energy efficiency projects through pumps and electrical upgrades at the wastewater plant, saving about 3.4 million kilowatts a year. That's an annual savings of more than $332,000. We've also gotten smart with how we handle sewage sludge, which is the remainder of our processes at the wastewater plant. We used to incinerate that. It was very costly. Being from St. Clair County, an agriculture county, we've worked with local farmers to allow them to have free fertilizer. We actually own the tractors and trucks. That saves $593,000 annually by farm application rather than incineration. A total cost-saving measures is $2.7 million annually. So we've made drastic reforms and cuts in our operations and maintenance already. Still, we are tapping our utility cash funds to fund the deficit, and that is not sustainable. In addition to tapping the cash funds to operate, we are under covenants and legal commitments in our bonding to maintain certain levels of cash reserves within our water and wastewater funds. Continuing operating as we are, within 36 to 42 months, we will begin at a severe level of our cash reserves, which would violate our covenants and our legal agreements in our bonding. The land purchase cash balance is also dwindling, like I said earlier. We are running out of money to subsidize. So if action is not taken, what will happen is the longer we wait, the more the problem will compound into an inevitable head, which we run out of money to subsidize, and we're still left with massive deficits, which will lead to severe rate increases in the future. And that's if we don't have legal issues with our bondholders. When we start tapping into our mandatory reserve levels, our bondholders could call in the debt. And if that happens, we would have a cash on hand issue. Plan A was a self-supporting plan. We would increase the readiness to serve charge by $23 per month for customers having a 5-inch service line. That would patch the deficit entirely through increases. It would generate about $4.9 million annually, and that would patch the deficit completely. This is what our projections would look like. Our cash balances would be strong, and so would our land purchase fund. However, we believe that patching this deficit through rate hikes alone is just too severe on our residents and would adversely affect economic development and our low to moderate income and our senior citizens and those on fixed incomes. So we've proposed a Plan B, which is a hybrid. It is an increase of readiness to serve fee, a charge by $11.79 per month. That's between $2 and some change in water and $9 and some change in sewer on 5-inch lines. That would generate about $2.4 million annually. So that would still mean we would need to subsidize to the tune of about $2.2 to $2.4 million from the land purchase fund. But we believe that doing a hybrid between subsidies to the land purchase fund and a moderate increase in the readiness to serve fee will allow the bridge to get to 2022 to have integrity, meaning we know that our funds on hand will get us there. This is projections utilizing the hybrid model to 2020. As you can see, our funding would allow us to bridge the gap. There's the cash balance projections as well. We would still dwindle the cash, but it would get us through. A comparison to other utilities. Compared to monthly city utility costs, we compare to natural gas, electricity, cable TV. We look at the prior 10 years. Used actual costs for Comcast, cable, and DTE and Semco. And here's a comparison as to how our water and sewer rates, including this proposed rate, has compared to other utilities. We're comparing well. People don't notice their cable bill or Semco bill going up or DTE bill going up a few percent. But they also don't offer twice a month public hearings to complain about it. And so oftentimes water and sewer, although very cost competitive, are the most contentious because they're the only one we can come and tell you how we feel about. If Comcast had a public hearing twice a month on their rates, I assure you I would personally be there. Average monthly utility bills, again, water is still your cheapest utility, and that's including the proposed rate increase. Comparison to other communities. We called other communities, several in St. Clair County, and we use an average of 2,000 cubic feet per quarter, slightly larger than the city's 1,700 cubic average now. If you actually see, we're coming somewhat in the middle. What is interesting about this cost comparative with cities around the states is that the cities at the top are communities that also had to go through the state-mandated sewer separation project. Manistee, Bay City, Lansing. We didn't ask for this project. Again, it was an unfunded mandate from the state through the feds. Again, your average utility bills here in St. Clair County. Port Huron is relatively at the top. But again, nobody else had to go through the state-mandated CSO project. And that's my presentation. I hope that provided a recap of the challenges we face. It is becoming clear that unless we do something, this problem will compound, and we will be forced to deal with it in the future.
It's back on. Thank you for the presentation. Is there anyone on council who has any questions about the presentation?
Yeah, Mayor Rep,
Yes,
the
Councilmember.
2.7 million that we saved, is that ongoing?
Yes, it's an annually $2.7 million, and those are conservative estimates. But those, as utility rates increase, the savings from our energy efficiency projects just become greater. And so that's a conservative estimate for cost savings.
Okay, so we can count on that?
Yes.
Going forward, okay.
Yes.
Is there anyone else on council has questions about the presentation? Thank you. We have one public hearing tonight, if the clerk would please read that.
To hear comments on the application of Eisman Automotive Port Huron LLC, located at 2440 20th Street, for a new personal property tax exemption. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the exemption for 5 years.
This is public hearing number 1. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council in this public hearing?
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Haynes. I'm the Director of Business Attraction for the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County. We're at 735 Erie Street here in Port Huron. I'm here tonight to support Eisman Automotive Port Huron and their request for a new property tax exemption. As you might recall, Eisman Group announced that they were choosing Port Huron as their future location back at the end of July. This was part of a process of site selection in which they were looking at not only other locations throughout the state of Michigan, but also looking at Ohio and Indiana at that time. At that time, in bringing in and trying to have them locate to Port Huron, we discussed some of the tax exemptions that we could offer them, pending approval of the City Council, and one of which is before you today. It's the PA 328, the new personal property tax exemption for a 5-year period. Now, even though that does say a 5-year period, as you might know, the personal property tax for the state of Michigan is going to be sunsetted. In fact, 2015 is the final year, so this is essentially a 1-year tax exemption. With us tonight, we have representatives of Eisman Automotive Port Huron, and at this time, I'd like to introduce Matt Brown, who is the technical director, manager for Eisman Automotive, and also Lucas Butterstein, who is the head of controlling for the group, and I'd like to have him come forward and give you more background on what their plans are for the facility here in Port Huron.
Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank you for your time tonight, just to kind of give you an update of what we've done. We did go through a lengthy selection process to narrow it down, not only just to Michigan, but to the Port Huron area. And so we do have a slides just to show you a few things of what we've done in the community so far, and kind of what some of our plans are as we move forward.
Okay.
So first, just a brief little nomenclature and some discussion here about our company. It's a family-owned business based out of Germany. Founded in 1964. Mr. Eisman is still involved in the company. We have about 315 million euros, 400,000 US dollars, million US dollars for 2014. We have 10 production plants across the globe, a couple of sales offices. So we do have a plant down in Puebla, Mexico, one in Pell City, Alabama. We have a design development office in Troy, Michigan. So we did want to keep a plant that's closer in this area in the Port Huron vicinity. So you can see just kind of an overview of some of our companies there worldwide. We're very proud in what we do. We're a automotive interior supplier, so we do a lot of leather wrapping on high-end vehicles. So if you think about the Lamborghinis, Bugattis, Porsche, Mercedes, we do those interiors. So we have been involved with the local big three here and helping them develop their brands a little bit better. And so we do have some Ford high-end vehicles that will be coming out of this facility here in Port Huron. But just to highlight some of the things we're proud of is Porsche Supplier of the Year 2 years in a row. It's a very high accomplishment in the whole world of automotive. So just talk a little bit about the current facility. So we came in and we purchased a plant there in 2440 20th Street, the old GMA facility. We've already refurbished it, gone back in and completely changed the interior. We have some pictures to show you the interior as well. We plan to have 233 jobs that will be here within a couple of years. We've already started hiring, so we do have about 25 people on staff right now. We have been bringing people in, so we have people now living in the Port Huron community. There's about 5 or 6 people now who moved in and are living in your community. We plan to invest a little over $13 million for the expansion, and including the current facility, and take that up to about 135,000, 150,000 square feet total. So just a few pictures here to show you. Just the exterior there, so it came in, just did some simple landscaping just to kind of clean it up a little bit, make that corner look a little nicer. Kind of some of the before pictures when we took over the facility, and some of the after pictures right now. And this has just happened in the last 4 months, and so we plan to keep on bringing in more equipment and building those lines up in the facility there. So, part of the reasons that we did move to this area were for some of the incentives. We wanted to support the local area and also support our customers here in Michigan. So, is there any questions that we want to answer?
Well, thank you, and welcome to the community, for sure.
Thank you.
We wish you every success. Does anyone on council have any questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
The jobs, thank you, Mayor Rep. The jobs that you're, are these entry level, or are they, at what degree?
Yeah, there's a little bit of mixture of both. So it's mainly manufacturing. We'll be doing a lot of training and development for the skill sets of the people. So we do have some things worked out with the local college here to do some training classes and some development work for the people. We'll do a lot of in-house training also, so there'll be, out of the 233, I would say there's probably 180, if maybe 190, that will be the hourly, more of the entry-level type people. Then there'll definitely be professionals as well, about 20 or so.
Oh, okay. And you're diverse workforce?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Well, it looks good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, I know that we had GMA closed up shop a couple years ago and laid off workers with the same type of skill set you're looking for. Did that play into your role at all, picking Port Huron, was the workforce?
Yeah, there was definitely a, this location wasn't even on our top list originally when we started looking. And then we started talking with Dave and his group at the EDA, and they actually did bring in some previous people who had worked at the GMA facility and kind of gave us a level of trust, and we can kind of see that, yes, there is some of that skill set already available that we will take and develop even further. And so that definitely played a part of our decision to move here.
Just for the council, GMA, they would stitch parachutes, and they would use multi-thread sewing machines and the same technologies that Iceman will be using to do wraps on interiors. So our workforce in Port Huron had a lot of the skill sets they were looking for. So another example of our people being one of our greatest assets.
Yep.
Exactly. With our leather parts we are wrapping, that is a very artistic, very crafty job, and that was in fact a very important point for us. And we hired people from GMA working for us, and we discovered that they do actually have the skill set that we were looking for initially.
Excellent.
Very good. Is there, go ahead.
Yeah,
Anything further?
Mayor Rep, I'd just like to say this actually speaks highly of our EDA. This is what we need. That partnership, building those relationships to let you know that we are about something here in the city of Port Huron. And, and it's not just words we're saying to you. We really welcome you to become a part of this city, this community. So, I just can't sing the praises enough of the EDA and your forthcoming. And hope more come.
Not only about the company of it or the business perspective. I'm one of the person that relocated here to Port Huron, and they've helped me a big deal finding different people to talk to or different lofts to look at.
Good.
So it worked out very well.
Okay, I'll make sure I tell Pauline to bake you some cookies. Come on and bake some.
I get to bake, huh?
No, she can't cook.
Now, did you take them to Thumb Coast? Because our beer rivals German beer, so.
We probably shouldn't start that discussion yet. We can have that later on.
You got good beer, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Anyone else on council have any comments, or?
Mayor Rep.
Yes,
Yeah, I'd
Councilmember
just like
Harris.
to comment. I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad to see you on 20th Street. Recently, we had Britt Manufacturing, which brings a new degree to Port Huron, and I think you guys are going to do the same thing. I visited your websites and things today, and I'm overwhelmed, so thank you and welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to hear that.
Anyone else? Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thanks for that.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment on public hearing number 1? I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask for a motion to approve the exemption.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Not quite sure who said that. Did you? Councilmember Harris. Is there any discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rupp?
Yes. We'll move on to public comment. Now is the time, if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening, they can come forward. Please give us your name, and you have 4 minutes.
Yes, my name is Margaret Enright. I live in Port Huron, and I'm here to discuss the water rates with you. According to the paper today, it said the average rate would be $75 a month. Well, my last bill was $104.56 for 3 months. If it goes up to $75 a month, that's 2.25 times what I'm paying now, and I'm having a difficult enough time meeting the bills as it is. And the person that made the comment, and I wasn't here for the Meet the Candidates night, and they commented about the seniors being crybabies and having more money, disposable money, than any other age group. Well, I'd like them to walk a mile in my shoes before they make a comment like that, and had I been here, that man would have more than taken his words back, or he would have been eating them. I can guarantee you that, because I don't have a wasteful amount of disposable money. If he wants to live on my income, you tell him to come and visit me, and I'll take care of his budget for him. But I cannot pay $225 every 3 months for water. And I don't pay anywhere near what they had up there for the electricity for that. I don't pay $100 a month for electricity, not even close to that. I'm very, very careful with every dollar that I have, and I don't think you'll find anybody that can pinch a penny harder than I do. I can turn a penny into a nickel in front of your eyes. So I'm telling you, I don't waste my money. I spend it wisely. I do the best I can. I'm in my mid-80s. I'm planning to be here for another 15 years, so you better get used to me. I'm going to say what I think, and I'll say it loud and clear.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Robert Grattan. I made a few copies. I guess most of you got them, but not everyone. First, I want to thank Ms. Child for being so polite on the phone and for being very forthright with me. I appreciate her and the position she holds. The letter is basically what I want to say. I believe the law against the city ordinance 52-676 concerning canopies should be repealed. As it states in my letter, Menards, Sam's Club, Kmart, Ace Hardware, Kroger all sell canopies that people can put their lawn furniture under. None of the city inspectors, none of the city blight ordinance people have given tickets for any of those that I've ever seen. My neighbor has one. My neighbor across the street has one. They've seen them. They don't give tickets on them. But because I have one over my boat, so I can work on my boat, I got a citation. I think it's not storage. It's not full of junk. It's got a boat in it with no floor on the boat. And I can't afford another cover for my boat. I'm totally unemployed. And as you see the ordinance down further, it says that a boat has to have a cover over it. I've got it highlighted on the second page. A boat with no cabin has to have a cover over it. Well, this cover is over my boat. I plan on fighting my citation, which is neither here nor there with this, but as I said, the lawn furniture canopies, mine's the same thing except it's got a boat underneath it. If I took the sides off of it, I was told it was still illegal to have the sides off of it. I don't understand. And that's all I probably have to say.
Okay, thank you, we'll look into it. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening?
Good evening. I understand how we have to raise the water rates. and
Can I have your
everything.
name, please?
I'm
Your
sorry,
name?
Patricia Quinn.
Patricia Quinn, thank you.
Yes. I understand how we have to raise the water rates and the adjustments that we have to make and everything. I am a family of one in my household. I do not use as much water and sewage as a family of 4 or 5. Why can't there be a sliding scale on the per units of water that we use? So in other words, I would be charged for the actual water and sewage that I'm using and not across the board. That was one of my questions. Another statement was at the meeting a week ago that the surrounding areas that we sell water to is only getting a 2% hike in their water rate of what we sell the water to. Why does the Port Huron city residents have to pick up the remainder of that cost? Our hike and what we're going to be paying, which is $11 and some odd cents, is much higher than what Port Huron Township is going to be paying, or the surrounding areas that purchase water from us. And I understand that we have to do something about our water, or we're going to go broke. I understand that. I just thank you for your time, and I want to know about a sliding scale. Why can't we use that per household? Because we do take a census in Port Huron. We know how many people are in that household. So why can't we charge accordingly for the water and sewage?
All right, as soon as public comment is over and everybody that might bring forward questions, then I'll have them all addressed at once, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council?
My name is William Lawson. I would like to know how many of you are residents of the city?
The council has to be a resident of the city.
I understand
All of the
that.
entire of us are.
They are all
Yeah, all of
city
us.
residents.
All of us are, yes.
I did not know that.
Pardon me?
I did not know that. Some of the practices that you are implementing are lowering the tax base. The houses that are blighted houses, and tearing these houses down, why don't you sell them at public auction? Allow someone to repair them, because those pretty green lots don't pay any taxes. They aren't big enough to build on, according to the proper building codes now. Use a little foresight. I've got to sit down. Can't say anymore.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name is Alan Skinner, a resident of the city of Port Huron for 45 years, if I can remember right. Long time. And way back then, my water bill was about 25 or 30 bucks, and my sewer bill matched it, 25 or $30. Of course, expenses go up and things are more expensive. I understand there's an increase, of course. But the relationship is that the sewer was equal to the water bill. And without a public vote for water revenue increases, council simply makes an increase when they feel like it. It now appears that my sewer bill is roughly 4 times that of my water bill. And of course, the water bill has gone up. And my thoughts at that time was that this increased revenue was being diverted for other city projects, city expenses. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was my feeling. Now, with the sewer separation and the articles and the reporting in the papers a while back, and again recently, that there may have been other things like enhancements, improvements, water mains, road repairs, road improvements, add up to the sewer separation bill. And if that's the case, I think it's an unfair situation that we're being asked to pay increased water rates to offset those increased expenses. Mayor Rep, a couple weeks ago, in a newspaper article, I believe I remember, stated that the public was entitled to a full understanding of what they were paying for in this water rate increase. And I think that's very accurate, very true. Mr. Freed made a very great presentation, lots of numbers, and I can't absorb them that fast anymore, but I'm sure most of the questions that anybody might have would be answered in that presentation. Those are the numbers, but what do the numbers represent? I mean, did the sewer separation actually include expenses that should have been paid for elsewhere? Neither here nor there. It's all one big basket. Supposedly, the city has a balanced budget. A councilman a few years ago told me that the city worked very hard to have a balanced budget. Mr. Freed indicated that there were subsidies within the city budget. So I'm sure the budget balances and the extra expenses from the water sewer separation were paid for by those transfers of monies and so forth and so on. But I think it really would help to understand what we're paying for. One of the other speakers indicated that this rate increase, this flat rate across the board for everybody, that's a regressive tax. That means that people that have a smaller bill, smaller income, are paying a higher percentage of their income for this water rate increase. And I again believe that it ought to be based on a volume or per capita in the household, or some way that doesn't make the increase regressive. Also, many of those increases will probably be passed on to rental customers, paid for by whoever, themselves, social services. They'll never see the increase and they don't care. And unfortunately, this is a major item and we haven't had much comment from the public concerning it, but this is a very serious issue for the city. And one last point. I believe I read in a recent article, and it may have been in the presentation this evening, the debt service is in the budget. No, the loan payments are in the budget.
Your 4 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Not the debt service. Why?
If you just wanted to wrap it up, I'll allow you to do that, but.
The last point was the interest on the loan, whatever we're at, $107 million, is not in the budget. I think I read that in the paper. And I don't know how you can balance a budget without including all of your expenses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Evening, Ms. Mayor and City Council, and Mr. Freed. Kerry Parman, 1814 11th Avenue. I'm back again this evening to say that I do not like the idea that going from quarterly to monthly. I don't think it's right. I've been paying all my adult life quarterly. My bills I got an 840 credit rating. I pay my bills promptly. Matter of fact, I just paid $1,000 last week in advance because I plan on vacationing this winter. I think you guys need to implement credit cards so I can take care of stuff like that over the telly. State of Michigan accepts credit cards. They charge you a 2% fee. That's usually what the credit card charges the corporation or the state. So it's a wash. And I took surveys. I know a lot of disabled and a lot of elderly people. They're not able to get here because they're old and they are not happy with monthly billing. I think you should put this issue in front of the people, the citizens. I know you guys are voted in to represent us, but you should see what the real consensus of our community is. And with the monthly, I shouldn't be penalized because I pay my bills on time. I shouldn't be penalized because I don't flush my toilet every time I go pee. I'm trying to conserve water. But you're going to give it $12 across the board? I don't think it's fair. And I wish you would consider that when you guys vote this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Rep, and City Manager Freed. Right now is Trina Avedisian, 15th Street. Right now is one of those times I feel I need to speak my piece or forever hold it. I'm quite sure you'll ignore my points I'm about to make because it seems that the decision has already been made, but I want to get this on the record anyway. It's important for you to remember who you represent. It's not the city administration, it's the people of Port Huron. Whatever you think of me, that needs to be laid aside at this moment, and you need to remember that the average medium income in Port Huron is about $30,000. People are having a hard enough time paying their mortgage, rent, and utilities. What we pay now for water and sewer is a stretch for most. I have 4 things I want to address. Take it for what it's worth. Number 1, if Port Huron did not have so much money tied up in TIFA districts, there might be more money to put towards paying the sewer bond debt. What will you do about that, and why is money so mismanaged? Number 2, if Port Huron had separated the sewers back when they were supposed to, it would have cost us a fraction of what it's costing now. It was the city's duty to protect its citizens then. It's the city's duty to protect us now. It's a shame that we're not doing our job and looking outside the box to fund this. The city manager has said we can't look at the past. I say that's wrong. We need to look at the past to see how we got here and never forget how it was done wrong. We need to hold those who did it wrong accountable. Number 3, if the city council was fiscally responsible to its citizens, they would not have given mitigation funds to the county for the convention center and spent that money on paying the pond debt back first. We need to devote those funds to paying the bills we have now. The sewer separation is the big one. Redoing every street in Port Huron is also a big one. Let's pay the bills first and work on pet projects later. Also, using money from the land purchase fund to pay this is good. Why do we have a land purchase fund anyway? What land are we purchasing, and why is the city even in the business of owning land? Isn't that something that should be left to private developers and private businesses? Number 4, and this is a biggie. The state of Michigan did not mandate that we separate our sewers. They mandated that we stop dumping sewage. We could have built holding ponds at the fraction of the cost and filtered the sewage through. Port Huron has never been a rich city, so why they opted for this is seriously questionable. That being said, since the decision was made to fix all the streets while separating the sewers, why does the Sewer Enterprise Fund have to pay for the entire project? There is a street millage that we have, and fixing the streets along with the infrastructure would fall under that fund, not the Sewer Enterprise Fund. That is purely for operating the sewage plant, from my understanding. So I guess, why aren't we using those funds as well? Or is it because the money from the street millage in certain areas are tied up in TIFAs, and thus we are unable to use them? Which brings us right back to the mismanagement of funds. It seems that this is a shell game, and the only ones who are losing are the taxpayers and residents of the city of Port Huron. 90% of the people in the city are on fixed incomes and already pay far too much for what they have to pay to live in the city. Income tax, road millage, plus all the other fees that are tacked on to the property taxes to pay for the other things we have. And because of poor decisions and badly managed funds, the city now wants to stick us again with higher sewer rates, and the question on the table that I have is this even legal? Due to the fact that they are trying to pay for the road repairs with the sewer funds, and they say the Sewer Enterprise Fund needs to break even because it has to be run like a business, why are the road repairs and curbs and sidewalks all included into the bond debt for stopping sewer overflow? The city manager claims that everyone is on board with this and everyone understands that it's time to pay the piper. The city manager claims the entire business community is on board with this and supports this decision. Well, I, for one, am not on board with this, and I haven't talked to a single person who is. I've seen one report and a budget. Well, I too have a budget, and it does not include all these ridiculous rate increases. If you could promise me that this would be it, that if you make this one last increase and that's the end of that, I could see possibly doing it this one last time. But my guess is that you will come back year after year and continue to soak us for everything you can get out of us. That is not acceptable at all. And I predict if you do this, you will dissuade businesses from locating in the city, and we need that more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Good evening.
Mayor Rep, council members, Mr. Freed, and Ms. Childs. My name's Larry McNamara. I live at 2414 Riverside Drive here in Port Huron. Before I make my little statement here, I would just like to, I just met Mr. Freed tonight, shook his hand for the first time. I'd just like to say that I welcome you to the city of Port Huron. I think we need the young blood, the young vision, the eyes, the ears, the lifestyle of the younger people to get us going. One of our past presidents, Truman or Eisenhower, or maybe even Roosevelt, said China was a sleeping giant. Well, that giant woke up. And you see 40 years ago where China was and where it is today. Well, as a city, I think Port Huron's a sleeping giant. We've got a lot of things going for us, and with the new council and the new city manager, I hope and I pray that you'll wake us up, make us a destination city.
All right.
Now, what I came to talk about wasn't that. So start my 4 minutes now, would you, Pauline?
Well, you're already a minute 15 in it, so.
I'm here about to talk about the water rate increases, and I also, my wife told me to stand up straight, speak slowly. My next door neighbor, Rico Ruiz, said, "Don't embarrass the neighborhood." So I'll try not to do, try to do all three of those things. The increase that's been proposed is $11.79 per month. This is not an increase in water rates, the way I understand it. And I was at the water department today, and I got some literature. It's an increase in the water readiness to serve rates. The readiness to serve rates it's a set amount charged to each household water meter to pay for maintenance and repairs to the water and sewer lines outside your home. Inside, anything that happens inside your home is a homeowner's responsibility, but outside, some of this money goes to repairs, maintenance, and even, I guess, part of the sewer separation. Right now, the average household pays quarterly, and their ready-to-serve fees are $25.50 for the water, $64.50 for the sewer, or $90 a quarter, which breaks down to $30 a month. That's what they're paying right now. With the increase, this amount will be $41.79 per month. Now, this is money you pay before you use one drop of water or flush one toilet. I'm losing my place, but it's necessary. It is a necessary fee, and like I said, it's to help pay for maintenance and repair. After you pay that fee, your meter records how much water you use, and you're billed accordingly. All of this is added up. You get your statement at the end of the month. You pay what's the amount you owe, and that's fair. It's a fair way of doing it, and it's a fair principle. Now, I'm a landlord. Boo hiss, I know. I pay my property taxes, which are higher because it's not my homestead. I pay a high rate of insurance. I pay my rental registration fees, and I pay my rental inspection fees, which are paid per unit per year. Although we don't get inspected every year, we're still required to pay each year the same fee for each unit. Now, my water bill. Some facts you may not be aware of. I have a 5-unit apartment building with one water meter, one line going into the house and one sewer line going out. I pay my water bill according to the water usage on the meter.
Larry, your
Yes.
4 minutes are up unless you want to wrap up.
Okay, I'm wrapping up right now. The readiness to serve portion of the bill is multiplied 5 times because it's a 5-unit, it's only one meter. So instead of paying $41.79 per month, I'm going to be paying $208.95 a month. That's only with one meter, and that's before I use any water. This is not fair. One meter, one water line, one sewer line. I'm not asking for favors. I'm just asking the city to be fair. One meter, one charge.
Shut him up. Thank you.
I did shut up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McNamara. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council?
I mean, I think we should remind our audience that we need to be respectful of all people, being considerate towards one another. We all have, opinions or whatever, and we all have feelings behind this. But the best thing we can always do in situations like this is show some respect for one another.
Kathleen McCready, 414 14th Street. I haven't been down here much for the last year because I was told people that come down here all the time, they don't want to hear from us. But you want to do it per month? Fine, do it per month. Personally, I would like to see my bill itemized with my line charge separated from my water usage, either that or go to a flat fee. Because my sewage is estimated based on what my water usage is, and that's unfair. Because if I water my lawn, that's not going through the sewer system, that's going on my lawn. But I don't have an in-ground sprinkler system, so I have to pay water sewage on that water usage, and that is not fair to me. Secondly, nobody wants to hear this, and I'm not whining, but as of sometime in December, I have lost my job. A job I've had for almost 4 years. There's 5 of us in my neighborhood. 1 I can see down the street, 2 that live on 15th Street through from me, and another 1 on 17th. We all work at Kmart. We've all lost our jobs. Most of us are homeowners. So what we're going to do with this rate increase that is not even spelled out verbatim, we don't know. We don't even know what's going to happen. If somebody else is coming in, we're told the lease is sold, but we have no idea what is going on. Thankfully, we're allowed to work as much as we want. Now that the store is closing, we get to do our jobs, and that's great. Lastly, in your ordinance, it says that the city manager is going to be quote-unquote a water czar, that he gets to oversee the water department with no oversight. I have some issues with that too, because one person being in charge, and there is no plan, like Trina said, for what the future is going to hold. In the ordinance that is drafted, it says water rate increases per the city manager, per the council, from time to time. As Mr. Skinner said, this is repressive to the community. You're going to be sending people away rather than bringing them in, because there's no plan, and anything can happen at any time. When water rates in Marysville are a fixed rate, somewhere $600 a year, you might want to think about going towards a fixed rate, taking the meters out, doing away with the administration, saving money that way. It's been said there's never any suggestions. Well, there's a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment closed. I did say that rather than, it is an important subject matter, we don't normally do this, but I think the city manager has been jotting down all of these questions, and I think it's important that we do get them answered. So we will try to answer your questions.
Let me do my best to take the questions. I wrote them down so they're not in any logical order. So I'll just go through and I'll try the best I can to answer questions now. And I'm sure further on in the council discussion, any questions I fail to answer, we'll better do it then. The flat rate as compared to essentially all usage, meaning you just want to be charged for what you use. The issue with that is whether or not you use any water or sewer at all, we still incur an immense cost to provide that readiness to serve you. Meaning whether or not you use any water or sewer, we still pay to have a water main, a sewer main, a lift station, a wastewater treatment plant, a water filtration plant, all operational, all maintained, so we can serve you in case you do need to turn on your water faucet. And those costs are relatively fixed, meaning the cost of the wastewater plant, the cost of the mains and water mains and sewer mains in the ground, those costs have been bonded out, they're mortgaged out, they're a fixed cost. And that's where the readiness to serve fee comes from. It's the cost that we can peg as accurately as possible as the fixed cost to have that available to you. Now, the usage charge is for mostly the commodity cost, meaning to pump water, to treat water, to pump the sewage, to treat the sewage. Those have a lot of variables in them. If DTE or SEMCO raises our rates that year, if the chlorine costs money to purchase, those increases. Those costs has a lot of variables that are attached to market. And so that is why we do the percentages versus the readiness to serve fee. On to the next question, why do we tear down blighted homes rather than provide them at auction? Most of the homes we get back are because they are so far beyond repair that they can't pass a basic home inspection or rental inspection. And so a lot of times the property owners just stop paying taxes on it because they know the cost of bringing it up to code or the cost of demolishing it just isn't worth it. So these become abandoned structures around town that are like a cancer in our neighborhoods. And we understand that being left alone, those abandoned and dangerous buildings, they actually depress property values in the entire neighborhood. And so by cutting out that cancer in our neighborhoods, we make our property values go up, we reduce infestations of crime, and we also entice new investment into those communities. And that is why we take down blighted homes that are beyond repair. Homes that are worthy of repair, worthy of investment, oftentimes those get purchased up. And so I'm not saying once in a great while it happens, but for the bulkhead, you would find that most of these properties would only turn into slums. Whether or not we distributed revenue from water and sewer into other various projects, to be very clear, all water and sewer revenues are for water and sewer related expenses. As for the streets being done with the CSO project, we actually quantified the cost for asphalt and curb and gutter that wasn't related to the sewer separation project. Meaning if we tore up 60% of the road for a sewer separation project, the remaining 40% was calculated out and charged back to the street funds based on your road millage. And so we thought if you're going to tear up 50 to 60% of a road, it would be silly not to replace the entire road, only to come back in 5 to 10 years to have to replace a half of a road. And so, although slightly more costly at the time, we were able to put ourselves in a much more financial position for years to come. Credit cards and online payments, that's an excellent issue. We actually offer online payments currently. There's a small fee involved, but you can go online and pay your bills. We are currently working on an automatic pay system, meaning where you can sign up to do automatic payments. We're a relatively small utility, only about 12,000 users. We don't direct bill our township wholesale customers. So we only have about 12,000 users in the city. So for us to purchase this, people like SEMCO and DTE, they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions or so customers. For $12,000, we have yet to find a cost-effective way to offer direct payment systems that wouldn't be too costly. Now we're working on it. We think we can partner up with other governments to find a cost-effective way, maybe work with some banks. We're working on it. It's a goal. But right now we do offer online payments. So that is something we do offer. Also, our water and sewer department, for those who go to Florida during the wintertime, we will actually project what your bill is, and you can advance pay for 2 or 3 months, however long you're in Florida, so that you don't have to worry about your bill while you're gone. One of the reasons why we're going to monthly versus quarterly is not only does it help, we've heard from our lower to moderate income people, but we've also found that people who go to Florida in a Michigan winter will have a pipe break. And it's 3 months before they get their quarterly bill to find out while they were in Florida for 2 months, their pipes were filling up their basement or their house. And so the investment we made in the radio reads, although reducing costs of labor and actually reading the meters, allows us to make sure people's water main breaks are being caught in a timely fashion as to mitigate more damage to their property. So that's one of the reasons behind it. One of the main points is we water our lawn, versus sprinkler. You can have a meter put on your sprinkler system separately. That's a fair point. The issue becomes is how would we gauge everyone's sewage usage? The sewer calc is the most industry acceptable form for doing sewer billing. It's used across the state, so you don't have to buy a separate meter for the sewage. It would be ungodly expensive. Also, the longer we wait to address this issue, the problem will be compounded. And if we wait 36 to 42 months, when we dip into our cash reserves, meaning we break our bond covenants, we start utilizing our bond reserves, we are legally required a certain level of cash reserves to pay our bonds. The moment we begin crossing that threshold, it is reasonably to expect that our bondholders will walk into a courtroom or send us notification that they're calling in the debt per their bonds, meaning you had 20 years to pay off your debt, you didn't agree to the terms and conditions, we want our money now. We're cashing out before it gets too risky. That would put the city in a very terrible circumstance. So we want to be conscious of that. Also, the city manager as the water czar. I will assure you I have no desire to be the water czar. All rules and regulations and rates and billings, those are adopted by council. What that simply means is per our charter, the city manager oversees the daily operations, the fiduciary of the city as the chief administrative officer of the city, and that simply continues that role as the city manager. So I will not be on a whim making decisions for the entire city. I do not have that authority. That lies in your elected officials and your mayor and council. I think that's the best I got right now. If anyone else thinking I missed something, we can look at it further.
Did you get the question about the mandatory CSO?
Yeah, we were mandated by the state to do the CSO project, and it was not something we chose to do. So this was something we were forced to do.
I guess I would have to interject here. I do know that at the time, because actually I was around then, we were forced to take care of the problem. We had a choice at that time as to whether the speaker was correct. We had a choice of which way to handle the council and the administration's recommendation at that time. The council adopted it when we started, that this was the process they were going to use. Obviously, we've been doing it for 15 years now, so it's not a time when we're going to change the process. All of that was decided 15 years ago, and so yes, there was a choice at the time, but the choice was to do the sewer separation, and the choice at the time also was to repair the water mains and streets, because obviously it wouldn't make any sense to have to tear it back up again afterwards. So yeah, those were all choices that were made by the council back 15 years ago, so that is the process that we've been using ever since.
I believe the landlord with the 1 meter as well. I believe it is not the full cost, it's actually a unit cost, it's slightly less. Is that correct? For the,
Oh, that's what they told me at the water department today.
okay.
5 times the going rate, once for each unit.
We'll look into it and
Yeah,
get back to you.
I don't want to say something and
Okay.
then be wrong, and so that's why I hesitate to answer that.
We will get back to you on that, okay?
Can you speak to future rate increases? I know you spoke to it a little bit at last Monday's, just about normal rate increases.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed is water and sewer rates have always been a constant issue in the city, and I think that's because not just this mayor and council, but previous mayor and councils, they greatly struggled with rates during a time of recession. And so you had a big pendulum. They would swing high, they would swing low, and it was always in limbo, and it was very divisive. And listen, if you take a poll, 100% of people are against higher rates, but it's a necessity. What I'm hoping for is that by addressing the elephant in the room, the CSO $107 million outstanding debt service, $12 million a year, future capital needs, by addressing the elephant in the room, we will place stability into the future rate increases so that they can better service and better follow the cost of living. So I want to remove this giant swinging pendulum, put stability in the marketplace, stability so our residents know what the future expect, so that you would have marginal increases, because you will always have future increases, because cost of living, things go up, but they need to be on a more predictable basis and a more stable increase rather than the giant pendulum. And that, again, is attributed back to the council trying to find extraordinary measures to alleviate rate increases, specifically in 9, 10, 11 and 12 when the recession was so severe. But at the end of the day, those subsidy funds, they're running out. And my major concern as the fiduciary of this city and as your city manager is if we don't address the issue today, meaning we make the extraordinary difficult decision to tackle this. If we don't, our hands will be tied in a few short years, and the solution that will be jammed down our throats will be so burdensome that in fact it will stifle economic growth and will stifle the town. So I think everyone's in consensus, nobody likes this. Nobody. I assure you, as your new city manager, only here 4 months, I would not be up here having this type of conversation, making friends, if I didn't think it was absolutely necessary to the future financial stability of this community.
Yes, Councilmember Lewandowski.
This is just to answer the question clearly. You're going to have a 3.5% increase the next 2 years that was voted on last year during the budget session. Clearly part of the reason why we're hearing this problem, but I'm going to leave that for next week when we talk about the raise, because I am quite upset about that still to this point. But just to answer the question, yeah, you have rate increases for the next 2 years.
For the usage part of it, yes.
And that's an excellent point, Councilmember. What this is focusing on is the fixed cost of the infrastructure we have, meaning we have all this infrastructure and we've completed these projects, but we've never addressed how we're going to pay for it. In addition to the annual operations of pumping, treating, the commodity, the fixed infrastructure cost has never been properly addressed, and that's what this is about.
Did you have something, Councilmember Ashford?
I think he had one more question to answer. The township, how come they didn't
Oh,
have to?
absolutely.
By contract?
Yep. One of the things is when we built the wastewater treatment plant, we have a very complicated agreement with the townships. They actually own a certain level of capacity of our wastewater treatment plant, and that varies by which township. Another thing is we do not own the water and sewer mains in the township. They are wholesale customers, meaning they have to pay for their own infrastructure. So we sell them the commodity as a wholesale, and they actually have the infrastructure they paid for, they maintain, to distribute to their residents. So this readiness to serve increase, when you factor it in a wholesale, meaning when I look at the 3 townships, we look at it as 3 water and sewer mains. We don't look at all their customers because they're their customers. They own the infrastructure. They maintain the infrastructure. So it would not be appropriate, nor would it be legal for us to take our infrastructure cost and try to pass that off to the townships. The courts have been incredibly clear that that is not acceptable. And so we have to justify the commodity cost that we are billing the townships. And so that is why if you take our readiness to serve increase based on their size, diameter, and their current usage, factored on their average usage, it'll be about a 2% increase for the townships.
Thank you. Anybody else? The only thing I think in there, one of the things was about using mitigation funds, but you can't use mitigation funds for sewer separation.
And one further thing on the mitigation funds. Our mitigation funds have to be spent, our agreement with MDOT and the state is that those funds must be spent on economic development issues, and all expenditures must be approved by MDOT. So they would not approve that expenditure. That's part of our mitigation agreement with MDOT.
Yes. Thank you for your answers. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, and supported by Councilmember Ashford. Please take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, there's just a couple items on the consent agenda. Received and filed notification from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission regarding request from Mr. TFA LLC to transfer ownership of a 2014 Class C SDM license at 1718 Hancock Street, and approve scheduling a public hearing for November the 10th to hear comments on code cases at 2015 Elk Street, 2008 7th Street, 2008 Minnie Street, 2204 Stone Street, and 1503 Howard Street. which takes us to resolution number 1.
Is approving the water and sewer utility rules in accordance with Chapter 48 Utilities, Section 48-32.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Ruiz, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
I think council here generally knows my position on the monthly billing and stuff that we were talking about with this thing here. And I don't think I've changed my mind, looking at things and going what I have. And I still have a problem with the monthly billing and talking with, there's been some consensus or reports that, people in the community are just jumping overjoyed for it. And I haven't got the feelings out there from the community that they welcome monthly bills. I guess the only other thing that I have with this particular document, I guess on packet page number 39, and it starts with item 4 through number 8, and it talks about the 15 calendar days before we bill somebody, at least 15 days, and then it goes on and basically it tells about the shut-off. Well, I think what it fails to address is the time. I don't know why we're reducing it to 15 days. I think if necessary, we need to give the people the 30 days that they need to pay the bills. And the other things are kind of specific between the write-off or the next billing, the shut-off notices, et cetera. It's kind of incomplete. I think we need to, some more detail on when these shut-off notices are. I mean, in here, there's no specifications.
Did you have an answer to that? Or?
I guess I'm confused at what
It would be,
specification you would like.
Well, it says here that the due date shall be specified on the billing and shall not be less than 15 calendar days. If a billing is unpaid at the time of the next billing, the shut-off notice will be included in the next billing. Well, we're still not conclusive about when that's going to happen. Then it goes, if the billing is unpaid at 15 calendar days from the mailing date of the shut-off notice, the account shall be reviewed and scheduled for a field shut-off. So we still are ambiguous about when this event's going to happen. And then it goes on further, a list of accounts scheduled for shut-offs shall be prepared by the city's water office. So when we get down to item number 8, we still don't have a timeline when this stuff is going to be done.
Right.
The way it sounds here, if it took 6 months,
It's
So be
typically, it would typically be 30 days after your billing date. Is that, yeah, let Bob come up and explain it better.
Yep, 48, 159.
Mayor Rep and council members, now that currently we only have an opportunity to talk to the customer on a 90-day period or a quarterly period when the bill arrives. And so subsequently, what we had previously is we had that when that bill, if that bill went unpaid for 30 days, then we mailed a shut-off, we mailed a delinquent notice. They were given a certain amount of time to respond to the delinquent notice. If they failed to respond to the delinquent notice, then we would go up and post the property and order a shut-off. The advantage, if you will, of a monthly billing system is you're in contact with your customer more frequently. You're going to be contacting them essentially every 30 days. So if you receive a bill, you have 15 days to pay it because the next bill is going to be coming out sooner. If you fail to pay it within 30 days, which is the period before the next bill comes out, when you get that next bill, inside that bill, it'll remind you that you're delinquent. If you don't pay that bill within 15 days, then the next bill will have the shut-off notice. So that does away, it's essentially the same period of time as there is currently. It's just we don't need the additional pieces of paper. The public doesn't, the system, and thus the ratepayers don't have to pay for that extra administrative activity because bills are being sent out on a regular basis. This is essentially what other utilities are doing, whether you receive your electric bill, your gas bill, or whatever. They aren't setting separate shut-off notices. It's included in your monthly billing. And that's all this is doing. It's an administrative rule so that we come back to something that's reasonable under the monthly billing process rather than the quarterly billing process. But essentially, the customer will receive the same amount of time to address the issue.
I guess my only thing is try to understand what you're saying, but is the firmness, it says here, the first one right off says shall not be less than 15 calendar days. So shall not be less, does that mean it's 15 days, 16 days, 18 days? It would be nice if we had a figure.
The problem you run into, sir, is that sometimes 15 days will be on a Sunday or on a Saturday, or it'll be on a day that we're not open for business. I don't think we or the council wants us to require that someone pay their bill on Sunday and they can't show up and pay the bill. So that's why you need that variance. It won't be less than 15 days, but it may have to be 16 or 17 days because it would fall on a weekend or a holiday. So that's why we need a little bit of variance to get the date of payment on a day that the public can pay. That's why that's there. But it won't be less than 15 days.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I still like the 30 days. I mean, we're narrowing the scope of payment by one half.
And essentially, if the customer gets the bill paid before the next bill goes out, everything's fine. But you have to have a due date.
Okay. Is there any other questions for Mr. Clegg while he's standing?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, do you have one?
Yeah. The rules, this is the first time that we're establishing rules for the water?
Actually, they've been in place for quite some number of years. Certainly long before my arrival in Port Huron in 1999, they've been in place. These are only amendments to the rules, and they're being amended for two reasons.
Oh, okay.
One is the rules have not kept up with technology, and with our, for example, our new automated metering system, we needed to change some of the rules specific to the fact that those exist. The other things in the rules that are changing are to take care of some other technological capabilities we have now that we didn't have in the past. And then finally, the rule changes are to address the monthly billing issues, monthly billing cycles, so that the rules more closely comport to the process, the administrative process we have to go through to bill monthly.
Okay. And is it safe to say, because I didn't see any red marks or anything, so this is just an amendment on behalf of the rules
Those rules were
themselves?
pre-existing,
Yeah, okay.
and what we're asking council to do tonight is to provide these new rules so that we can keep up with technological changes and, for example, fire hydrant use. That hadn't been changed since the 80s. Fire hydrant use we require reduced pressure valves now to protect the water system. They didn't exist when these rules were written before. Those technological changes are also included in these rule changes. But many of the rule changes are directly related to monthly billing.
Right, and so that's probably was the primary driver.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
you took the opportunity to do all that other stuff.
Address
to bring it
all
up
the
to
things we
par.
could find.
Right, okay, and then also, is it safe to say the ordinance that's before us tonight, this helps supports the ordinance also?
Yes, ma'am. If the ordinance were passed and not the rules, then the staff wouldn't have clear direction about the details of what we're supposed to do. The ordinance is a policy-setting document, and the rules are kind of more detailed rule-setting and gives guidance to staff as to how they're to work with individual customers regarding issues.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was very clear. Thank you, Mayor Rep.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Mayor? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
I would just like to say that I have been contacted on this issue by quite a few people, which was a pleasant surprise for me, because most of the time I hear complaints through social media or other ways, but never direct contact, and I encourage that, and I like that. I've had approximately 50% for going to a monthly bill and 50% not for going to a monthly bill. I could sit here and quote pros and cons of both, understanding that, nothing's going to make everybody happy, and we're trying our best to please the most of the residents and certainly make it easier on our low income and our seniors and people on fixed income to try to make this a little easier to do. And then I wanted to address, somebody talked about electronic billing, and we are looking into that, but yes, you can go on our website and you can pay direct and you can pay a fee, but I pay all of my bills online through my bank. It's 100% free of charge. You can't pay it immediately, but it takes about 5 days to post. But when the bill comes in, I can schedule that out to be paid that 15 days later, and it just automatically happens when that time comes. So if you're not familiar with that service, check with your bank. It's very easy. I can have it paid. I can actually schedule a payment for now for the next 6 months straight. If I know what my average monthly bill is going to be, I can do that, and it's all free of charge. So that is at least an option for all of you while we continue to look into the electronic billing. And I think that was it. I just wanted to make sure and thank those people who did reach out and contact me about and give me their opinion and their views.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Lewandowski?
No.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Ordinances, we'll move on to number 1 under ordinances.
Is an ordinance being given its second reading and enactment, and is an ordinance to amend Chapter 48 Utilities, Article 1 in general, Article 2 Water System, and Article 4 Water and Sewer System charges of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of converting from quarterly to monthly billing and to update the chapter.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Cole, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
on packet page number 56, they speak here about the rate for senior citizens and the use of water for City of Port Huron. It says senior citizens' adjusted household income shall not exceed $10,000, and it goes on and it states a public act, and it basically says if you satisfy all the requirements, that you'll get 30% off your water and sewer bill. Well, Fort Gratiot Township, Port Huron Township, trying to think the other ones. Port Huron, Kimball. Kimball has a different, but anyways, each community that provides a senior rate that gets water from Port Huron has a threshold of $20,000, and ours still stands there at $10,000. And they have to satisfy the same requirements, be 65 years old, be a homeowner, live there, and they're basically, the requirement is the same as ours, except they have a $20,000 threshold. The only other thing that I couldn't find out about, and it's kind of ambiguous, and our city attorney can probably explain some more. I looked into Public Act 281, and it talks about the criteria for the income test or adjusted income. And it kind of leaves some vacant things there about what is adjustment income and what things can be, that you can have or declare that isn't adjusted income. And it refers to some pensions to state employees and things. And I really think that that would be one thing that I think somebody should look at. Like I say, I looked on the internet and Googled it, and it referred me to do a couple decisions on it, and they're kind of ambiguous. And I hate to, like I say, I don't like the $10,000 figure, and I don't really like the ambiguity of this Public Act 260 or 281. So basically that's my only feelings on this issue. So,
Could I ask why we are at 10 and everybody else is at 20? Is there a reason?
I'm not sure when the 10 was originally set, but I believe that was probably set by council. It's before my time, but that is something we could probably, at budget time, get you numbers on, pardon me, on what the cost would be. What happens is the general fund subsidizes that portion of the money, and we could run some numbers and get back to you on what the cost would be to go from 10 to 20. I don't know what it would be.
What we'll do as well, Ken, there's been throughout, since my 4 months of being here, a lot of really excellent things like this that we're making a list of that we're going to bring up at budget time. And so I think this is probably something that should be on the forefront when we do our budget, to look at raising that threshold.
well, it's really interesting. The only thing I got out of the water department, I asked them, and respectfully, they were really nice, is the fact that they said there are very few people that meet the $10,000 threshold, which is really, really low. I mean, it's basically poverty, so.
It was probably set many, many years ago and didn't keep up with inflation.
Ed is exactly sure this is funded by a 30% via the
It's,
general
the
fund?
general fund actually makes a payment to the water fund and to the wastewater fund for the difference.
Yeah.
A part of me says we could change it tonight, but the problem is we don't know what effect this would have on the general fund when we already have a $500,000 issue there we're working on. So we'll try to run numbers for you at budget time. Thank you.
And also,
You know, can we actually, I guess I'm going to step in here, can we actually have those figures before budget time? Because that means we'd be waiting till next July before we instituted any change. So I guess
Yes.
I'd be interested in that prior to that time, as soon as
Ed
possible.
has a pretty light agenda right now with the audits going on, so he can,
I didn't mean tomorrow, but I just think
before
it's
you go to
something.
bed, Ed.
I just thought it was something that we don't want to wait all the way till next July 1st to institute if that's a plan that we're going to do. So I think we should look into it and, you know,
It's an
act
easy
accordingly.
amendment to change.
Correct.
So the council chooses to, it's an easy amendment to change.
and with that, he's going to benchmark, bring us the facts, you
Yes.
know? All
Yeah.
right, thank you.
So, yeah. I think that,
Technology is great, but just. Pull it up, and that public act is the income tax for the state of Michigan. What I'll do tomorrow is get an answer and email it over to you, so you know how the figure's set, what section it comes out of, so.
okay. Thank you. Any other discussion on this? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris.
No.
Councilmember Lewandowski.
No.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Mayor Rupp.
Yes. That concludes our agenda for this evening. Is there anything else to come before us? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mayor Rep.
Oh, I just think we got quickly.
Just one
Ken,
little comment. and,
Spoke up here.
One of my constituents asked me to have James make an announcement, and I just forgot all about till today. Everybody knows that this week is Halloween. In the city of Port Huron, we don't have a time to get out and what time to bring the kids off the street. But I just like to say as council, and I think the city manager would second my opinion, is the fact that do what's safe. Don't invite kids out there. We're going to have bad weather anyways, but set a reasonable amount of time, shut your light off, and
Absolutely. Any Snickers or Reese's can be dropped off at City Hall, at the fourth
Yeah, I
floor.
agree. That's a good comment. Also, the city clerk reminded me to remind everybody that Election Day is next Tuesday. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., so please exercise your right to vote. And we had a motion and we had a second, so I'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.